Have you ever had one of those moments when your whole life flips upside down in 5 seconds? When you walk into a meeting expecting one thing, and by the time you leave, everything has changed. That was my Thursday morning, a quick sync with my boss. Nothing urgent, or so I thought. I was still finishing my coffee when I stepped into his glass-walled office. He didn't even look up, just pointed to the chair and kept typing. His silence was louder than any greeting. I'm Stacy Hayes, 38, single mom. Until that morning, senior project strategist at Heroin Solutions, or almost until. At last, he looked at me and gave me that tight corporate smile that never reaches the eyes. We're making a few strategic adjustments to the team, he said, voice smooth, rehearsed, and we're asking everyone at your level to take a temporary compensation adjustment. I blinked. Compensation adjustment? He slid a folder across the desk. I opened it, saw the number before I even processed the words. 50%. My salary, halved, effective in 2 weeks. You want me to take a 50% pay cut? Temporarily, he said, like it was some kind of favor. Realigning budgets, trimming some fat. My cheeks burned. I'm not fat. He chuckled, as if we were old friends. Of course not, Stacy. But the reality is, different market now. If this isn't something you feel good about, we'll need to find someone who does. He knew. He knew I was a single mom. He knew about the mortgage, Ava's special needs program, last year's medical bills. This wasn't an offer. It was a dare to quit. I sat perfectly still. I'll need a day, I said. His brow arched. To consider the offer? To breathe, I said, and to read the fine print. That smile again. Of course. I walked out with my chin high, as though I hadn't just been punched in the gut, as though I wasn't already calculating what to sell first, my car or my sanity. Back at my desk, my hands trembled too much to type. I stared at my monitor, blinking to clear the burn in my eyes, and thought of Ava. 10 years old, autistic, brilliant, sensitive, obsessed with stars and planets and routines. She needed stability, security, predictability. And I'd just been handed chaos. I didn't cry then. That came later in my car, parked behind the grocery store. The kind of silent crying your body forces out when you know there's no room for drama. Just pressure release. I thought about texting someone. But what do you say? Hey, I just learned I'm worth half of what I was yesterday. Want to grab lunch? Instead, I opened LinkedIn. I hadn't updated it in a year, but checked my messages anyway. And one name jumped out at me. Marcus Lin, CEO of Chai on X, heroin's biggest competitor. He'd messaged me 3 months ago, after a webinar I'd spoken at. Just something simple. Impressive insights. Let's stay in touch. I hadn't replied at the time. I was loyal, committed, naive. But tonight I wasn't loyal. I was a mother, a strategist, a woman with 9 years of institutional knowledge and no patience for being cornered. I hit reply. Hi, Marcus. I think it's time we talked. Less than 5 minutes later, a reply lit up my screen. I was hoping you'd say that. I didn't really sleep that night, not at all. I lay sprawled on the couch, laptop balanced across my legs, half-heartedly scrolling through job postings while keeping one eye on Ava's baby monitor, doing my best not to spiral. Every time I blinked, the number flashed again. 50%. Burned into the backs of my eyelids, impossible to shake. You spend nearly a decade in one place. You build systems, guide teams, save projects at 3 in the morning. You tell yourself you've earned more than becoming just another line on a spreadsheet when the time comes to trim the so-called fat. But apparently, I was nothing more than a cost center to them. At 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown caller. I hesitated, then answered. Stacy Hayes? The voice was calm, assured, familiar somehow. Yes. This is Marcus Lynn. Wanted to catch you before the day got away. Do you have a minute to talk? I sat up. Now is perfect. He chuckled softly. I was hoping you'd say that. I've been following your work for a while. Client retention numbers, crisis recoveries. Your name comes up a lot. No small talk, no filler, just facts, deliberate and direct. I watched your webinar on cross-market adaptation last fall, he continued. You solved in 30 minutes what most teams can't crack in a quarter. If your current boss is too short-sighted to see that, I'm not. My pulse quickened, but I forced myself to stay steady. I appreciate that, I said, but I didn't reach out last night fishing for compliments. And I'm not calling just to hand them out, he replied. What happened? So I told him everything. The pay cut, the veiled threat, the polite corporate phrasing wrapped around something deeply personal. When I finished, he didn't rush to respond. He let the silence settle. That's disgraceful, he said at last. But sadly, not surprising. What do you mean? You're not the first. Hurinex has been bleeding good people all year. First the CMO, then 2 product leads. Quiet exits, NDAs, everyone forgotten. But word gets around. We all hear things. He paused. What if I told you we have a place for you? I hesitated. Doing what? Building something better. Not patching holes in a sinking ship. Leading the way for once. I stayed quiet, focusing on slowing my breathing. We've been assembling a new vertical, Marcus went on. Client-facing strategy, high stakes. We need someone who knows how to handle high-touch accounts. Someone who can think fast, who won't fold under pressure. I exhaled slowly. When would you need an answer? Let's meet today, he said, face to face. My team wants to meet you. If we click, you'll have an offer in hand by day's end. I glanced at the clock. 6:12 a.m. Ava would be up by 7. I can drop my daughter at school and meet you at 8:30, I said. There's a coffee shop across from our office. The Daily Grind. Table by the window. I'll be there. After we hung up, I just sat there, phone in my lap, trying to believe what had just happened. This wasn't only about the money. It was about being seen. About someone recognizing the years of invisible work, the late nights, the silent sacrifices I'd made while others took the credit. That morning, I packed Ava's lunch with extra care. At drop-off, I gave her one of those long, embarrassing mom hugs in the carpool line. She squirmed. Mom, people are looking. I smiled. Good. She rolled her eyes, but she laughed. And that's when I remembered exactly what I was fighting for. At 8:25, I was sitting in the cafe. Marcus walked in at 8:29, tailored suit, no tie, eyes calm but sharp. The kind of person who hears every word you don't say. He extended his hand. Stacy, Marcus. We sat down, ordered coffee, and then he pulled out a folder. Not a napkin scribble, not a vague email. A folder. Inside, a draft offer. Title: Director of Strategic Growth. Base salary, $162,000. Bonus potential, up to 30% annually. Full health coverage, including dependents. Stock options, remote flexibility. My breath caught. This isn't a favor, he said quietly. It's what you're worth. I looked at him. Why now? Why me? He smiled. Because you're the kind of person companies underpay until they realize they can't afford to lose you. And I'd rather invest in you before someone else wakes up and tries to do the same. I closed the folder, and for the first time in 24 hours, I smiled too. By the time I pulled into the Hurnex parking lot, the Keonix folder was in my bag, and my mind was clear. No trembling hands this time, no panic, no short breath. I wasn't coming back for answers. I was coming back to deliver one. But let's be real. I was still nervous. What if Marcus changed his mind? What if the offer vanished the moment I said no to hearings? What if... I cut the thought short. I'd spent too many years doubting myself, shrinking, making myself small enough to survive in a place that wouldn't care if I drowned, as long as I did it quietly. Not anymore. I took the elevator to the 14th floor. Everyone acted normal. Smiles, nods, even tired jokes about spreadsheets and meetings. But I knew. Word had spread. I'd become the one they were looking to cut. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. At my desk, a calendar notification was waiting. Compensation realignment follow-up. 9 a.m. Attendees: Stacy Hayes, Jeremy Crawford, VP, Meredith Lee, HR. Meredith was the kind of HR rep who always seemed exhausted, yet somehow kept her lipstick perfect. A walking contradiction in beige heels. Jeremy was my boss, the same man who'd handed me a 50% pay cut with a smile as if it were a bonus. I walked into the meeting room exactly at 9. They were already there. Stacy, Jeremy said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Thanks for making the time. I sat, calm, ready. Meredith offered a polite smile. We're just here to finalize your new compensation terms and ensure you feel supported during the transition. That word again, supported. I didn't bother with pleasantries. I'm not accepting the revised offer. Jeremy blinked. Excuse me? I'm not taking the pay cut. He leaned back slowly, folding his hands like he was handling a child refusing her vegetables. We understand it's a big adjustment, he said, but the entire department is adapting to new financial realities. This isn't personal. Funny, I said evenly, because it feels personal. Meredith jumped in. Stacy, no one is questioning your value. This is about budget realignment. You want me to do the same job, actually more work, for almost half the pay? I said. You call it realignment, I said evenly. I call it exploitation. Jeremy's jaw tightened. If this new arrangement doesn't work for you, we'll have to begin the disengagement process. We'd hoped to retain your institutional knowledge during the transition. I reached into my bag, pulled out a folder, and set it on the table. Opening it slowly, I slid it forward. Meredith leaned in first, eyebrows rising. Jeremy didn't touch it, just glanced at the numbers, then looked straight at me. Is this from Canix? Drenia asked. I nodded. Director level, full salary, bonus, healthcare, stock options, remote flexibility. You were right yesterday. Someone else would take me. Jeremy's jaw clenched harder. Meredith opened her mouth, closed it again. Have you already accepted? Drenia asked. No, I said. I wanted to give you the courtesy of hearing it directly from me. So, you're leaving? I met Jeremy's eyes. I'm walking away from a company that treated me as disposable, from a culture that hides behind spreadsheets and gaslights its employees into believing that starvation equals loyalty. Jeremy shot a look at Meredith. Stacy, you leave now. You forfeit any severance. I smiled faintly. Actually, no. Under my pre-restructuring contract, any salary reduction over 25% is classified as constructive termination. I paused. That means I'm entitled to full severance, and I don't owe you a single day of transition work. Jeremy's face went pale. Meredith's trembling fingers shuffled through her notes. This is a mistake, she murmured. No, I said softly. The mistake was assuming I'd stay quiet, that I'd take whatever was handed to me because I'm a mother, because I have bills, because you thought I was trapped. I stood. This meeting is over, and so is my time here. Turning toward the door, I stopped and glanced back. Oh, and if you're wondering who'll handle the Mendoza account next quarter, you might want to ask Geronix. Then I left. My heels clicked against the tile, my heart pounding. Not with fear, but with freedom. I thought I'd feel triumphant the moment I stepped out of that glass-walled room. And I did, at first. But by the time I reached the parking lot, my legs were trembling. Not from regret, but from adrenaline. From the terrifying exhilaration of leaping off a cliff and trusting there's solid ground somewhere, even if you can't see it yet. I sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel for what felt like an hour, until my phone buzzed. Kionics HR, your welcome email is active. Paperwork attached. Let us know if you have any questions. I opened the document. A job offer letter. Benefits. Start date. Digital signature line. It felt real. I exhaled, signed, pressed send. I had a job. I had a future. Now I just had to survive the present. When I walked through my front door, it was only 11 a.m. The house was still, too still. For once, the silence didn't comfort me. It made the uncertainty echo louder. There's something no one tells you about starting over. The ache doesn't always arrive when you expect it. Sometimes it shows up in the middle of the day, when you're folding laundry and realize there's no work email to check. Sometimes it appears when your child finally notices. That afternoon, I picked Ava up from school myself. She was waiting near the bank with her little backpack, turning a smooth stone over and over in her hands, as if it held the answers to the entire universe. Her face lit up the moment she saw me. Mama! Hi, Ava, I said, kneeling to hug her. You're early. Yeah, I thought I'd surprise you. Do you have the day off? I hesitated, then nodded. Something like that. We bought ice cream, walked home, and talked about her science project, the one she feared nobody would understand. It wasn't until we were back, with her perched on the kitchen counter, sipping melted vanilla and watching me far too closely, that she asked, Are you okay? I looked up from the sink. Of course. Why? You've got your brave face on, she said simply. The one you wear when something bad happened. That nearly broke me, because she was right. Children always know, even when we try to shield them. They pick up on the little notes we drop between sentences. I dried my hands and sat beside her. I quit my job today, I told her. Remember how we talked about standing up for yourself? Even when it's hard? She nodded. Well, it was hard, but I did it. She didn't speak right away. Then, we're still okay, right? Like, Our house, my school, and Pluto? I blinked. Pluto? My telescope. It's still mine, right? I laughed, then cried. That strange mixture of both. Yes, baby. Pluto, the telescope, the house, all still ours. Ava smiled. Then I think you did the right thing. That night, after she went to bed, I opened my laptop. 14 unread emails. 4 from clients at Herring's, 2 from team members. The rest, from people I hadn't heard from in months. Former colleagues, casual acquaintances, even an old mentor. Apparently, word had gotten out. Apparently, my quiet exit wasn't so quiet after all. Devin from my team wrote, "Heard what happened. Proud of you. Can we talk?" Clara from marketing said, "They tried to cut me, too. I didn't have the guts to leave. You did." But the most surprising was from Alex Wells, former VP of partnerships then at Hernix, now in consulting in New York. "They never deserved you. Let me know if you ever want to talk about next moves. The industry is watching." That stuck with me. The industry is watching. I'd spent so long feeling invisible. I didn't realize people had been paying attention. Not when I stayed late or fixed things quietly, but when I stood up, when I walked away. That's when they noticed. There's a saying in business: people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. But that's not always true. Sometimes we quit being overlooked. Sometimes we quit being small. And sitting there in my quiet home, with Ava asleep down the hall and moonlight spilling across the floor, I knew this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of something much, much bigger. The first morning at Kironix didn't feel anything like my first day at Herring's. No slow orientation delays, no forgotten passwords, no "let's see if someone can find you a desk" energy. They were ready for me, ready from the very start, and that alone told me everything I needed to know. My new team, 7 people, most younger, all brilliant, stood when I walked into the conference room. Marcus introduced me as a strategic force, someone who doesn't need to be told what leadership looks like. I smiled politely, though inside I was still holding my breath. There's a strange kind of fear that comes after you finally win the thing you fought for. It's not fear of failure. It's fear of letting down the version of yourself who believed this moment was worth everything you gave up. By 10 a.m., I had a company laptop, full admin access, and a calendar already filling with meetings. Chironics hadn't just given me a title. They'd given me ownership, influence, trust. But the real shift came at noon. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. San Francisco area code. "Stacy speaking," I answered cautiously. "Stacy, this is Dominic Pa from Mendoza Group." I straightened instinctively. Dominic was one of the biggest accounts at Herring's. One of my biggest accounts. We'd worked together for 3 years. I knew the names of his kids. Last year, he sent Ava a Lego rocket set for her birthday. His tone was not warm. "I just got a call from Jeremy," Dominic said. "He told me you're no longer with the company, that I'm being transferred to someone named Mylery. I don't know her. I barely know Jeremy. I didn't sign up to be bounced around. You're the reason we stayed during the cuts last year. You're the reason we renewed." He paused. "What's going on?" I took a breath. "I left voluntarily. They cut my salary by more than half, but expected me to keep the same workload. I said no. Silence. Then, good for you. I blinked. Really? Yes, he said. And Stacy, where are you now? I hesitated. Chironix had made it clear we weren't poaching. If clients came, it had to be on their own. But telling the truth wasn't against the rules. I'm at Chironix now. Another pause. Then Dominic gave a low, dry laugh. Of course you are. Marcus has good instincts. I'll be reaching out to his team. Before I could respond, he added, Tell Ava I'm sending her the new Mars rover set. Just came out. The call ended. I stared at the screen. Not poached, not pushed, just pulled. 5 minutes later, Leanne from Dentrix Healthcare called. Same story. Hearings had assigned her a new account manager, someone unknown, clearly unprepared, reading from a script. We signed up because of you, Leanne said. You know how to translate tech into human language. This guy couldn't explain an Ethernet cable if his life depended on it. By 3 p.m., I'd taken 4 more calls, all from ex-clients, all asking the same thing. Where are you now? That evening, I sat in my new office, the sun sinking past the horizon. My desk was still bare. No family photos yet, just a coffee mug and a notepad. Marcus knocked once and stepped inside. You've been busy, he said. I nodded. They're calling me. I know. Dominic already sent an email. Dentrix too. He sat across from me. We're not going to chase them. If they come, they come. But if this keeps up, Stacy, we'll need a plan. A plan? He leaned forward. Because if even half your clients follow you, we're not just hiring you. We're rewriting the entire landscape. It hit me then. I hadn't just left hearings. I'd taken the gravity with me. I didn't plan this, I said. I know, he replied. That's what makes it so powerful. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time, I didn't hesitate. I answered. 3 weeks after I'd walked away from Herring's, the silence finally broke. I was halfway through analyzing a pipeline Q3 chart when the screen lit up with a number I hadn't seen in over a year. Gerald Whitmore, CEO of Urinex. Not the kind of man who called casually. That's what his assistants were for. If Gerald was calling, it meant trouble. I let it ring twice, then picked up. Stacy speaking. Stacy, he said, voice tight and overly polite. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I'm at work, I said plainly. What's this about? A pause. I've been brought up to speed on what happened. Your departure, the repercussions. I stayed silent, letting the weight hang between us. He cleared his throat. We're seeing a troubling trend. Mendoza, Dentrix, Lumbra, all have ended their contracts. We've been informed they've moved to Quirinix. No kidding. I don't have to tell you what this means for us. No, I said, you don't. He waited, maybe hoping I'd soften, apologize, offer something. I didn't. We'd like to set up a conversation, he continued, to discuss the possibility of rebuilding that relationship. It dropped like a flat punchline. You mean after slashing my pay, taking away my accounts, and threatening to replace me? That wasn't authorized by executive leadership, he cut in quickly. Jeremy made a few aggressive decisions under pressure. Jeremy was following a culture you built, I said sharply. You don't get to dodge that now. Silence. Stacy, you were key to our success. Frankly, we can't afford to lose what you brought to this company. Correction, I said. You already have. I could almost hear him blink. Let me be clear. I added. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm simply done. Surely there's a way we can. There isn't, I cut him off. If you truly cared about preserving what we had, you would have stepped in 3 months ago, before the clients left, before the trust was shattered, before you lost the one thing you can't buy back. What's that? Loyalty? I ended the call, and for the first time since all of this began, I felt light, not triumphant, not smug, just free. The next day, Devin called. I'm giving my notice, he said. They asked if I'd stay on to help with the transition. I told them the only person I'd follow into the fight again is already at Quirinix. I smiled. We have room. I'll talk to Marcus. A week later, I met Leanne from Dentrix for lunch. She hugged me like we were old war comrades. They asked us to reconsider, she said, even offered a discount if we stayed. But we prefer working with people who listen, people who treat us as partners, not just numbers on a retention report. She raised her glass. To knowing your worth. I raised mine in return. To never forgetting it. That night, I put Eva to bed early. She lay curled beneath her rocket blanket, her telescope aimed toward the corner of the window where moonlight spilled in. Are you working tomorrow? Component placement? She asked sleepily. Yes, I said, but I'll be home for dinner. Just like always. You promise? I promise. Her eyes closed slowly, and I just watched her for a while. Because when the dust finally settles, when the emails stop, when the contracts change hands and the office doors close for the last time, it's not the money or the company's name that matters. What matters is what you built. The people who stood by you, not because they had to, but because they chose to. It's the quiet certainty that you didn't just survive. You chose yourself. They said she was replaceable. Turns out, she was unforgettable. And that was a line they never saw coming. So, what would you do in Stacy's place? Would you accept a 50% pay cut? Or would you have the courage to walk away, just like she did? Share your experience in the comments. Have you faced something similar at work? From which country are you listening to us? And if this story inspired you to value yourself more, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will make you reflect on your own worth.